qui va vous présenter la vision et la mission du groupe des leaders ouest-africains de l'énergie.
Your Excellency, President Alassane Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire and our host President, Your Excellency and my own Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Okay, when I say my own Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our African leaders, they put me very close to them. First is our own President Olusegun Obasanjo, father of many positive developments, not just in Nigeria but across Africa. And his brother, a very good friend sitting next to him, President John Kufuor, former President of Ghana. Co-chairs and distinguished members of the African Energy Leaders Group, so many distinguished leaders here. I see the Prime Minister of Mali, Prime Minister of Cote d'Ivoire too. I pledge them good morning, sirs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there are so many people in this room to be recognized, so as we say in Nigeria, I like to stand on existing protocol. As one of its private sector founders and co-chairs, I am honored to be here with you this morning for the inaugural meeting of the African Energy Leaders Group. I want to thank my co-founders and co-chairs for their leadership in launching this initiative. I particularly want to thank my brother and dear friend, Dr. Yimkela, whose vision and tenacity have brought about the creation of this organization. I also want to thank our co-chair, President Ouattara, for his graciousness in hosting this first meeting. Even as African and world leaders preoccupy themselves with the agenda for global development, they have acknowledged that the lack of access to modern energy services is not just a symptom of poverty. Lack of access to energy, or power as we call it, perpetuates poverty and hinders development. We hope that, guided by the findings and efforts of the UN Sustainable Energy for All initiative, the soon-to-be-announced Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, will include universal access to energy. We have created the African Energy Leaders Group with that same vision, that is to ensure universal access to affordable and reliable modern energy services for the over 600 million Africans who lack access to electricity. And West Africa is part of this 600 million people. Our mission is to create a forum and the conditions for the public and private sector in the West African sub-region to collaborate in achieving the vision of universal access and set an example for the entire African continent. What is unique about this group is that it will be about ongoing dialogue between the private and public sector on how to address our challenges and measure the progress made through specific projects in increasing access to electricity for the over 300 people who live in West Africa. And I want to be clear that this is not about social development. It is about the economic transformation of our continent. It is about ensuring that Africa graduates from the economic shackles of low returns from extractive-driven exports and revenue-draining import-driven consumption and aid dependency to a new era of local value creation and economic self-sufficiency. I'm personally committed to being a long-term investor in generating energy for our people. In 2013, I publicly committed to investing $2.5 billion in the power sector in Africa. As the first step in fulfilling that commitment, through Transcorp, a company for which I'm the chair and majority shareholder, a company that the idea was seeded by President Olusegun Obasanjo. We acquired the largest gas-powered generating plant in Nigeria. We took over management of the plant in November 2013 and found it only generating 160 megawatts of the 1,000 megawatt capacity, installed capacity. Within 6 months, we have doubled that, and now 18 months later, we are almost at 700 megawatts. By the end of this year, we will be generating 1,000 megawatts, and are in discussions with General Electric to add additional 1,000 megawatts. My target is to generate 25% of Nigeria's power, regardless of how much the sector grows from the current 4,000 megawatts. For me, this is not just about talk, it's about action, because power is desperately needed by our people. I subscribe to an economic philosophy that I call Afro-capitalism. Afro-capitalism advocates for long-term investment in strategic sectors that will generate economic value for investors and shareholders, and social value for society. In other words, we need to invest in sectors that can pay both economic and development dividends. Providing access to electricity for schools, hospitals, businesses, and industries is the single most impactful intervention that can be made to transform our continent. It has tremendous implications for job creation, health, food security, education, technological advancement, and overall economic development. So access to power is very, very mission critical. We also need access to electricity for another vital reason. While other continents have aging populations, Africa has a very young population. This means Africa is poised to become the engine of global economic growth. But this can only happen. This cannot happen in dark. It can only happen with sufficient and reliable electricity. And it must happen because our young population needs jobs. And Africa needs to create 120 million jobs for our growing young demographic by 2025. To create these jobs, we need to industrialize and begin to achieve local value creation. We must begin to take back the value addition process to our natural resources to meet our local consumption demands. This means we must refine our crude oil into petrol. We must turn our palm oil into cooking oil. We must turn our cocoa to chocolate. And we must manufacture our pharmaceuticals and our own furniture and our own vehicles. But as our good friends at UNECA tell us, Africa cannot industrialize on a weak power base. So we must fix our power problem by attracting investments that increase generation and put thousands and thousands of more megawatts on those grids. In Nigeria, for example, the government took bold steps in privatizing generation and distribution that resulted in billions of dollars of investment. But now, the next bold step needs to be taken, and the transmission also must be privatized. Then the private sector can invest more in producing and distributing more power, while the public sector will help to continue to regulate and incentivize more investment in this sector. Therefore, the Africa energy leaders will focus on 4 key areas. 1, advocating for privatization and investment. Governments cannot successfully act as power providers for all our people. This is a function of the private sector. We particularly need to encourage privatization and investment, including in small-scale off-grid projects, to ensure that we are all catering to our citizens in small and rural areas. 2, integration. This is the improvement of the supply and value chains of power from inputs to generation and to distribution in large grid projects. 3rd point, public-private sector partnerships. We will encourage joint ventures to enable us to diversify the risk in ambitious cross-border projects. And 4th, policy. Securing private sector investment will require the appropriate national policies and regulatory frameworks that are stable and long-term. In addition, to achieve economies of scale, we also need policies that enable regional power investments. Finally, we also need to create policies to guide off-grid investments. The Executive Board of the African Energy Leaders Group meets today, along with some of our members. We aim to recruit more business leaders as well as investment and power companies from all over the world to join the African Energy Leaders Group or partner with us in this initiative. The day-to-day work of the African Energy Leaders Group will be done by the Secretariat that will be established today. My good friend and co-chair, Dr. Donald Kebruka, has offered to house the African Energy Leaders Group Secretariat in the African Development Bank. The Secretariat must be well funded to function effectively, and we must all commit to ensuring that this happens. So today, I'm making a pledge to provide $150,000 over the next 3 years to support the operations of the Secretariat. I want to call on governments of the member states of the ECOWAS region and the African Energy Leaders Group members and partners to also step up with significant multi-year commitment to sustain this organization. And finally, I want to call on the private and public sector leaders in North, East, Central, and Southern Africa to join hands with us in West Africa in this effort so that across Africa, public and private sector leaders collaborate to elevate and prioritize access to electricity towards the development and economic transformation of our dear continent. This is a mission that must succeed, and I'm proud to join with all of you here to make certain that this happens. Thank you very much.
We are now bringing not only the public sector, not only the private sector, but influential people within the community.
The policies should be in place, and then I believe policies should also be to encourage more and more a growing private sector. We want more of Tony Elumelu's, we want more of the Dangotes. These very powerful and successful men are sticking out now like sore thumbs. We need more of them.
Renewable energy anyway is a win-win situation. It's both a strong environmental proposition and a strong economic proposition. So there is no reason at all why renewable energy should not be our focus and the focus of Africa, indeed West Africa, in the next few years. And I think there's a lot also to discuss with the private sector about what to do in that particular area.
The problem is, and the fix, is that there's so many other financial institutions that we can go to. We don't have to be pigeonholed to just 2 or 3 financial institutions. There's so many areas where money can be raised. When I first came in, we had no money, but we knew that money could be raised and be available. I wasn't really governmentally connected, so I didn't know the couple of institutions that most governments go to for money, so I went to the private sector to raise the money. You know, we came in, God willing, we was able to acquire $1 billion credit line. So with that, with my co-founders and partners, Samba Bachili and Chon, we came up with a financial scheme that would also work with every country's budget. So you wouldn't be in a position of not having the money and not being able to acquire what was needed.
You know, we hear people say a lot of things about the power sector, from tax incentive to price regulation to tariff fixing, etc. I like, because I'm happy, Yumkela, that you gave me this opportunity to say this before leaving here, because not easy to get our political leaders in this manner. My advice is, at the parliament, and by the way, I believe you all know who the president is, President Olusegun Obasanjo. What happened in the telecommunication space in Africa can happen in the power space. We indeed, in 10 years, 15 years max, can improve access to electricity in Africa. But we need to do things differently. We need to be bold, we need to be courageous. We need to forget short-term populism for what is important. We need a government that will say, okay, people are talking about tariff, let's forget this issue of tariff. Private sector, come in, invest, and in the long run, as you open up that space to competition, price will naturally come down. But in the short term, it can even hit the road. But if you have a bit of patience, in the long run, it will open up. Capital was an issue for investors in telecommunication space. In fact, MTN stock price crashed in South Africa because they went to invest in Nigeria. Today is a different story. It's a cash cow for MTN. So ultimately, the power sector in Africa will attract even more capital than can ever imagine. But there's a short period of time that we need to just be courageous as our political leaders and support the sector to take off. We can have the power improve and even cause the price crash if we can hold on firmly in the short term. So my closing, or my remarks as a private sector representative here is that we indeed can work well with government to improve access to electricity on the continent. But we need our government to be a bit more courageous and continue achieving support the private sector. But just please, let's look long term, medium to long term, and then this issue will be resolved. Thanks so much.